And we're live. Welcome everybody. Testing 1, 2, 3. How's everybody doing? Happy Wednesday. Good to be back here live with you guys once again. Hope you're having a good week so far. Apple Home Talk Live. This is the weekly live stream all about building a smart home in the Apple ecosystem. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. And like I said, I hope you guys are doing well. Let's say hi to some folks in the chat and then we'll kind of get rolling here. I was going to do something a little different today. I thought I'd give you a little bit of a virtual tour, if you will, of my smart home in the Apple Home app. Thought it might be a good way for you guys to kind of see what I've got going on, ask some questions. We could talk about all the smart home devices and things like that. And yeah, just happy to answer any questions along the way. First, like I said, let's say hi to some folks. Hope you guys are having a good week. We got Kevin from Long Island. What's up, Kevin? Keenan. Hello, Keenan. Boise is in the house. Albert. What's up, Albert? Hope you're having a good day. Tom. What's up, Tom? Austin, Texas. Frederick. Hey, Frederick. How you doing, man? Thanks for being here. I see you commented there, replying to Jeff. Let's check out our comment pop-up. That's looking good. Yeah, so I guess Jeff says, thinking about joining and need a lot of help setting up my Apple Home. Yeah, so I know Frederick mentioned this in the chat, but if you are new to building a smart home with Apple Home and trying to get up and running, definitely check out my Getting Started 101 playlist. That was recently updated just like a few weeks ago. So 2025, that was updated and it lays a perfect groundwork, in my opinion, for building an Apple Home smart home, a DIY Apple Home smart home. Goes through all the things that you'll need to know to get up and running, and kind of help you along the way from beginner to advanced. And it's pretty basic, straightforward stuff as far as getting started. We don't try not to get too complicated here on this channel. So, Don, what's up, Don? Good to see you here. Good afternoon. Warm but thunderstorms. Yeah, luckily today we have not had any thunderstorms. It's that time of year where we get those just about every day, but no rain today. It is just straight up hot, very hot. And I will ask you guys, please bear with me a little bit today. I am struggling. I am kind of dragging ass, if you will. I went out yesterday and was installing a bunch of smart lights and stuff outdoors at a friend's house. Did some permanent outdoor lights and a bunch of stuff. I was out there for probably like 7 hours or so, got dehydrated and just a massive sunburn, all the things. It was rough. So that kind of put me out. I don't know. I thought I drank enough water, but it was just pouring out of me faster than I could rehydrate. So yeah, that was kind of rough. Was cramping up and all kinds of stuff, and I'm still trying to recover a little bit from that, I think. But we're getting there, definitely getting there. William, what's up, William? Good to see you here from Canada. Dan, Central Texas. We've got a lot of Texas folks in the house. Nice. Thanks. Green Arrow. Green Arrow is here, says the updated starter playlist is excellent, even when you've been at it for a while. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Green Arrow. Yeah, a friend of mine, George. What's up, George? I think George said he even picked out something out of there that he didn't know, and George is definitely a veteran. Got to hang out with George actually this past weekend. George and some other friends. Was awesome. Had a good time. We went to so the plan was to go to Charleston just for like my birthday, something the wife was doing. I told her I didn't really want to party or anything like that. And so we went to Charleston. Well, she surprised me, as did everyone else, with some great friends that kind of took the trip to Charleston. George was there, my buddy Eric was there, and some others, and their wives. So we had a lot of fun in Charleston for the weekend. So that was great to catch up and see everybody there. Drink Powerade. Yeah, that's what my wife told me. And I did drink one last night. I probably should have another one today. Freaking awesome weekend. Yeah, it was fun, man. Except for your flights home. I know you had some issues with your flights. So sorry to hear about that, but I'm glad you did finally make it back home. let me get my home app up and running here, and we're going to kind of get rolling today. I hear some people in the house. I'm going to lock my studio door to make sure nobody barges in here. I think last week my wife was like, I tried to get in there and you had the door locked. Like, yeah, she wants the password for that one, but maybe in time. Let's see, is MyQ and Apple going to ever resolve their issues? Unfortunately, that is not an Apple issue there. That is a MyQ thing. MyQ just cut off all API access and all integrations. So yeah, probably not going to happen. I mean, they can always go back on that, but I switched. I'm using the Tailwind smart garage door opener. Did a video on that a while ago. Yeah, and it's been great. Let's see here who we got in the chat. Raul, what's up, Raul? We got Atlanta in the house. Jason, what's up, Jason? Nice. Oh, Australia. All right, Robert. What's up, Robert? From Australia. Adrian, that's a good question. Says, if I already pay for Apple One, do I have to pay for additional storage to have secure video? No, you don't. Let's see. Let's look up the Apple iCloud plans. So Apple One, I'm trying to remember what the Apple One, because I pay for Apple One too. Let's see what's included with that. Let's switch to my screen here and make sure you guys can see this. So Apple One, so I guess it depends on which one you have, iCloud. So it's going to be based on, if you have individual, family, or Premier. So with individual, you get 50 gigabytes of iCloud Plus. You see right there, that's what we're looking at. With family, you get 200 gigabytes. With the Premier, you get 2 terabytes. So it depends on which one of these you have. And look at that, and then you can check out right here if you go and look at the iCloud Plus plan. So you will get, depending on which one of those you have here, so you got 50 gigabyte, here's the 200 gig, and here's the 2 terabyte and above. With the 50 gig, you get support for 1 camera. The 200 gigabyte plan, you get support for up to 5 cameras, and then 2 terabytes and higher, you have unlimited cameras that will work with HomeKit secure video. So that's not an extra fee that is baked into your iCloud Plus plan, whichever one you have there. So hope that helps answer that question. All right, I see some questions here. I will try to go ahead and flag these questions. My font is kind of small today. Let me see if I can make that a little bigger so I can read these comments. Oh, nice. Papa Bear says, family got me a HomePod Mini for Father's Day to start my conversion from SmartThings and Alexa to Apple Home. Very excited. And I apologize if I just triggered your Alexa, I can't spell today, speakers. All right, so, before we jump into the showing you my smart home, and we'll do some questions and stuff, just a couple things to mention real quick in case you missed it. A couple of devices just came out. So we talk about Aqara a lot here on this channel. I really like their devices. They just released a new smart lock yesterday, sort of new. It's the U200 Lite is what they're calling it. And just so you're aware of what this is, it's basically just the U200 lock, which I do really like. It's a Matter over Thread lock, so it supports all the smart home ecosystems through Matter. It's Matter over Thread. I'm not sure if I just said that or not. Really, the big difference here is that this one does not come with the keypad. So that with the keypad of the U200, you get, the pass, the little keypad. It supports HomeKey. You can do the NFC cards for unlocking and the fingerprint scanner, all that stuff with the keypad. The U200 Lite does not include the keypad, and instead it comes with this little Aqara NFC sticker for unlocking. So you could, I guess, tap your phone to that, and which is this right here, which you can see, and that'll unlock the door. Personally, I'd much rather have the keypad for the fingerprint scanner and everything, but that is now an option. So it's a little bit more affordable, but great lock. Like I said, basically the same lock as the U200, just without that keypad. So you're not gonna get HomeKey and stuff like that. Like Trent said, what's up, Lone Star Trent? Yeah, it is a great price. It is a great price. So if you're on a budget or you just don't care to have the keypad, definitely a good option. It's a bulky one, Lurk Jerk says. Yeah, it's a little bit. What's up, Larry? Good to see you here, man. Yeah, it's kind of bulky. I've definitely seen worse as far as smart locks go. So it's not the worst smart lock that I've seen. Edgar, what's up? Edgar's home tech's in the house. What's up, man? I was just watching one of your videos the other day for lunch during my little lunch break. Good to see you here. All right. Next up, the next thing I just want to share real quick. We love smart buttons. So Philips Hue unveiled a new updated smart button. So they've had their little smart buttons. I really like the look of this thing. This does work over Zigbee, so you'll need a Philips Hue bridge to connect this to HomeKit or to Matter. Or I guess if you can maybe integrate it into Home Assistant or something like that, if you're using something like that, just over Zigbee. But yeah, nice looking button. Reminds me kind of like the little flick buttons. I do think with this, like their last button, you only get a single press in the Apple Home app with this. But if you're just looking for a simple little smart button, especially if you have a Philips Hue bridge, then maybe check that one out. What's up, Lawrence? Good to see you here. PalmaKit in the house. Reading your comment there. U200 is great. Too bad it's a turnable button and no light. Unlike the SwitchBot Ultra. Yeah, the SwitchBot Ultra is a great lock too. I would say that, the U200 was probably my favorite retrofit smart lock that I've used. Really like that lock. And then I used the SwitchBot Ultra, the new SwitchBot Lock Ultra. And I really love that one too. Both have maybe some pros and cons. Not many cons, but reasons to choose one over the other. I did videos on both of those locks if you want to check out the details. But I really like the SwitchBot Lock Ultra. I'm actually using it here in my house right now, which we can get to. Let's jump into this. And as Frederick said, oh, what's up, Eric? Eric Wielander's in the house. Good to see you, man. I hope you're doing well. Another great YouTube channel there. If you're into smart home, definitely check out Eric's channel if you haven't already. Same with Edgar's Home Tech and George Langabeer. Check out those guys if you're building a smart home. I saw we had some people just getting started. You definitely want to go check out all those channels. Some great ideas and smart home tech over on those channels. And as Frederick mentioned, if you do have a question for me, if you would preface your comment with the word question, that'll help it stick out to me a little bit. And I'll flag those questions and come back to them here in just a minute. Jeff says, pretty disappointed in the WWDC event. Feels like Apple doesn't put as much effort into HomeKit anymore. Yeah, I agree and kind of disagree. I think they are putting effort into HomeKit. I think there's a lot coming with the smart home, with Apple Home. Unfortunately, none of it's ready. Probably a lot of it has to do with the updated SIRI. And yeah, I just don't think it's ready. So in terms of smart home, definitely disappointed as well in the Apple keynote from WWDC, but I do think they're putting effort into it, maybe more so than ever. It's just not here yet. So, based on rumors and all that kind of stuff. So let's switch over and make sure my smart home or my camera rather, is working. All right, so there we go. Let me know if you guys can see that or have any issues there. But This is my smart home. Thought I'd just show you real quick kind of how I have things set up and some of the devices. So all my cameras here are on the top. And underneath that, whoa, real quick, we got a super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat.
Super chat.
Carlos sends a super chat. How is your Home Assistant journey going? Sure, happy to talk about that. So it's going fine. I really have not been doing much with it at all. So I guess maybe that depends on how you feel about Home Assistant. I really have not been using it much other than for integrating devices into my smart home that Apple Home doesn't natively support. As far as like all the advanced automations and stuff, I just haven't really been using it for that in a while. I talked about that a little bit in my, I think it was the fourth video of the last video of that HomeKit 101 series. I kind of talked about what I was using. I'm using Home Assistant mainly for that to get, device integrations and stuff. But for my automations, I've really just started using Homey Pro a lot more for like the advanced automations. I can pretty much do everything that I want to do in there, but it's just easier and more fun, I feel like, to set up automations and stuff in Homey. So I've been using it for that, although Homey does not have the device compatibility like Home Assistant. And of course, neither does Apple Home. So Home Assistant really comes in handy for me there when it comes to that. So yeah, TV OS has Thread 1.4, Apple TV only 1.4. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to all devices hopefully getting updated to Thread 1.4. I hope that fixes some Thread issues. SeaWorld Chris, Home Assistant. Yeah, Paul, that's from the old Paul. We need to get Paul on here one day, maybe. Yeah. Convert the shortcut button to the top of the list of automations. That interesting. That was your WWDC request. All right, catching up on these comments here. All right, I'm gonna flag some of these questions. Whoop, wrong button. Here we go. So these are my cameras. I just redid a lot of these cameras. So front porch, and I switched out a lot of these to Unify cameras. So not all of them are, but many of them are. I think this is a TP-Link camera right here. You can see how messy my house is right now. We've had a lot going on. I've got a pod in the front yard because of the garage situation. Back deck, that's another TP-Link camera right there. I've actually really been liking those cameras. They make, I think, 2 Apple Home supported cameras. And yeah, I like that one. This is my Car G5 camera. Great camera right there. And yeah, just a bunch of mostly just Unify cameras outside of that. And I've been using Scripted to get those Unify PoE cameras into Apple Home. Yeah, that's correct. They do have let's see if my pop-up works here. There we go. They do have a Homey Light. That's correct. So that came out not too long ago. One of the issues with Homey, a lot of people said, is that it's very expensive, which it is. I think it's like $399, I want to say, for Homey Pro. They do now have the Homey Pro Lite, which is half the price. I think it's $199, so it's like $200 versus $400. So, yeah, Frederick says, I bet your neighbors are thrilled with your pod in the driveway and all of your outside lights. Yeah, that's right. They love me. Yeah, we've got some complaints. Oddly enough, it wasn't about the pod, which you would think it was about parking near the clubhouse and stuff instead of, I was like, well, I could just, line up all our cars on the drive or, down the street and really piss everybody off. But anyways, you'll never please everybody. They'll be all right. Catching up on the comments, did I miss the Nuki thoughts? Nuki. So we talked about that. I don't know if we talked about that yet. Nuki. So They have a new lot coming out. I think I can share that, but we have not talked about that yet. It should be coming out pretty soon. Yeah, so for those who are looking, I see there's some talk about Homey Pro. I'll pull that up real quick so you guys can see what we're talking about. Some of y'all might be interested in this. Homey Pro. And I did do a video on Homey Pro when I first started using it a while back. So you can check that out too if you want to see. And yeah, it kind of has it's kind of like an all-in-one hub, if you will. You can connect this to Apple Home. There's a couple methods to do that, but it has Zigbee, Z-Wave, infrared, all that kind of stuff. And you can now get the Homey Pro Mini is what it's called, which is basically the same thing, except it does not have Z-Wave and smaller specs, but still probably pretty good for most people. And you can also add on to them with the Homey Bridge. So if you decide, you need, more range or whatever, you can add these on later, which I think these are about like $60 or $80. Oh, $69 right there. So yeah, a couple options there for Homey. I do really love the automation engine for Homey. So that's kind of what I've been using lately. No Bluetooth, Lurjerk said. Is that correct? Yeah, so maybe no Bluetooth on that one either. Okay, yeah, no Bluetooth on the Mini. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, so that may be a factor there as well. But the Homey Pro, like the original one, yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. So no Bluetooth, but if you decide you need Bluetooth, again, you can add on that Homey Bridge for $69, and you can get Bluetooth and infrared. Oh, the Mini doesn't have infrared either. So that's another one. So no infrared, no Z-Wave or Bluetooth, but you can get this to extend and get those capabilities, which would still come in at getting both of these together would still be cheaper than the Homey Pro. So, you got some options there. Dang, random advice says, returned my Homey Pro. It was too much work for a $400 device. I would have kept it at $150 or less. Too much work. I take it you probably have not used Home Assistant then. I understand. It's all a little bit of work when you get into these more advanced hubs, but I feel like Homey Pro was way easier to get going than Home Assistant. And Tom says Homey Pro is worth every penny. It's not really that bad in the grand scheme of smart home cost. Yeah, I mean, for what it can do, if you're really trying to get serious about automations and stuff, it's a good investment, I think. Mike says, question, Shane, is your outside camera in front replacing the need for a doorbell camera? No, I do still have a doorbell camera. I just like to get notifications when somebody rings the doorbell. So it could, in theory, so this is my doorbell camera right here. This is the Unify G4 Doorbell Pro is the one that I'm using. And yeah, so I kind of have, like, as you can see, I've got multiple cameras in multiple places. So I've got the front porch. I also have the doorbell camera right there. You can see here I've got two cameras overlooking my driveway. Yeah, a little overkill. I was actually going to remove this one. This is the Aqara G5 because I have the PoE camera, the Unify one up here. But I really just love that Aqara G5 camera so much. And the night vision is so good on it that I just left it up. So it's up there for now. And I don't know, I may take it down at some point, but we'll see. We'll see. And Austin wants to know from everybody, what robot vacuums are you using in Apple Home? Everybody let Austin know. Be a good conversation here in the chat. I've got a couple of them. Let me show you some of the devices that I have, and you guys feel free to ask any questions at any point. I'll try to do my best here to get to those. Let's see. So cameras, we talk cameras. You can see I've got a lot of them. I've got one. This one's in the studio. I turn this off when I'm home. This is kind of cool. So the G4, you can see how we got my dirty shoes. Everything's a mess right here these days with the garage project going on. But the G4 camera also has that little package camera. So it's technically brings two cameras into Apple Home through scripted, which is kind of cool. And we got favorites. So I like to keep my favorites as just my security devices. That's just how I set things up. So I like to have all my security stuff here. I've got my security system that I use and the locks in my house, front door, back door, the garage lock. You can see that's the Lock Ultra we were just talking about from SwitchBot. My Tailwind garage door, that's unresponsive right now because of the garage project. I never have any issues with the Tailwind garage door, but right now it's unplugged because we're working on that whole project. And speaking of the garage project, I thought I saw, I may have missed that, but Eric, I saw you, I think Eric asked, how's the garage remodel going? So speaking of the garage remodel, if you've been tuning in these live streams, or watching me on Instagram, it's been a big undertaking. We built a loft in there, painted, and we had some cabinets installed, doing the whole thing. It's going well. We've been kind of on a little hiatus because I got a mini split AC unit to put in there, and there were some delays in getting that shipped. So it did just come in, I think, yesterday. So tomorrow, hopefully, we'll be getting the AC installed, and then it's just going to be doing the floors, and I should be done after that, thankfully. But yeah, I'll post some more on Instagram as we kind of get that back going. But that's why I haven't really been sharing much, because we've been kind of on a hiatus. Plus, we've just had like tons and tons of rain and storms like for a couple weeks here. And as you may know, to do those epoxy floors on the garage, for the garage floor, you need a couple of days probably with no rain with the garage open to let everything kind of cure and whatnot. So been waiting on that. John says, got those pegboards up in the garage? Yeah, no, not yet. So I've kind of been waiting. They're still in the box. I did order the IKEA pegboards, which, John, you must have seen that on Instagram. I probably shared that. I am really excited to get those installed. I just haven't had the time to go out there and do it. And I figure I'll probably just wait until we get everything kind of cleared out of there and get the floors done and stuff. That might be one of the last things I do. But yeah, really excited to use the pegboards because I'll say the reason I went with the IKEA pegboards is because there's so many little accessories you can that you can print from your 3D printer, and there's just tons of the files online already. And so I'm going to be firing up the 3D printer, I'm sure, to print a bunch of little custom accessories and stuff like that. So that's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to that. Tashida, oh, thank you so much. I hope I said your name right. We are constructing a new home in Barbados. Wow, that's awesome. And watch loads of your videos to help me build our smart home here. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. I do really appreciate the support. I'm glad the videos have been helpful. That's awesome. Man, Barbados, I bet that's beautiful there. Is the mini split smart? So I did not bother ordering a smart one. I just went through the contractor that's doing a lot of this work and had him, we just talked about a good one to get. So most of those do come with like a IR control. So my plan is to probably use I'm thinking about using the SwitchBot Hub 3. I also did a video on that recently, and I'm probably going to put that in the garage as just a cool way to control all the smart accessories in the garage, but it also acts as an IR blaster. So my plan, if all goes well, is to just use that to control the mini split AC and to kind of get that smart home integration through that. And you can, of course, bring that into Apple Home, those IR devices into Apple Home and everything like that through the SwitchBot Hub 3. So that's my plan. I'm just going to integrate it most likely through the IR capabilities. All right, let me flag your questions. I see them. Doug, I'm not sure what you mean there. Doug says maybe it's about notifications. I don't think you can use, I don't know. I don't think there's a way to use Ecobee with a mini split. I don't think so. I've never used a mini split before, so it'll be my first time. Kind of a learning experience there. Andrew, no worries, man. Glad you could make it and join us here live. Somebody asked about vacuums. Yeah, okay, so let's get back to my stuff and you can see what I'm using here. Sorry, I got too many buttons. So here's my back porch. I've got a lot of devices on my back porch. A couple cameras. You can see one of my shades is going unresponsive right now and it's driving me nuts. I've got to get that back working, but I have basically 3, 6, I think 9 or 10 shades on my back porch. They're all smart wings, and I also have a low battery, so I got to charge that. And a bunch of lights out there, curtain lights, wall lights. This is a lot of Govee lights out there. I've got one that's unresponsive right there too. I think that's like the couple of unresponsive devices I got to get worked out. And also my TV. All my unresponsive stuff is on the back porch, it looks like right now. And we're using the, for the door lock, that is the Ultra Lock Bolt fingerprint that supports HomeKit. That's the lock I'm using right now. Reading your comments here. Oh, nice. Trent said, I got a window AC that's smart. They come in as thermostats. Nice. Yeah, I saw that they had some little window units, AC units that can connect to HomeKit. That's cool. Caleb says, I know you use Abode for your security. I was thinking about using them as well, but would you recommend their cameras, doorbell, sensors, or going through somebody like Aqara? That's a good question, Caleb. So as you can see here in my Apple Home, I do use the Abode system. This is my Abode system right here. That's my primary security system that I use in my house. I do not use, let me see if I can go to accessories here. Wait, maybe I have to go to bridge, accessories. So here you can see the accessories that I have connected. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I really just have a couple of door sensors, basically 3 door sensors. And then I've got, their keypad, and yeah, really that's it. So the keypad also has a motion sensor in there and stuff. But yeah, for cameras, I would not recommend Abode if your primary use is Apple Home. I don't think they're cameras except for the one that's built into the hub that I have, which is not a very good camera anyways. I don't think any of their cameras support HomeKit other than that. If you primarily want to use the Abode app for everything, then maybe the cameras would be a good option. But if you want that smart home integration with Apple Home, their cameras probably are not the best option. I don't think their cameras are great anyways, but I have not used them all, so don't quote me on that, but just what I've heard. So yeah, I use really just the door sensors that I want tied to my alarm system. So if somebody opens the door while the alarm is armed, trigger the siren or whatever. Outside of that little alarm system, I mostly use Aqara door sensors for everything else, just for like automations and stuff like that. If I don't need it tied to my security system or the security system states, I pretty much just use Aqara sensors mostly, honestly. They've been so good for me. Hope that answers that question. All right, let me try to get to some of these other questions. There was a bunch of them. Jason says, question, could you give an update on your Invelli White Series switch? I'm on the fence about getting a couple. Yeah, So if you're curious too, I should mention about any of the devices I'm using now. I did a video just a couple weeks ago, I think it was, maybe a month ago. I think it was called like these devices made the cut or something like that. It's all the smart home devices that I'm currently using in my house. So I actually go through that video and show you all the stuff that I'm using, and anything not in that video I'm not using anymore. And so unfortunately, I only have so much space in my home, so I can't use everything that I review on here. And the Invelli white switch is one of those. I really liked it while I was using it. I ended up replacing it for a few reasons. So I was using it here in the studio, and I was using it just in the smart bulb mode, which means it kind of disables the relay, the physical switch part, and I can just use my Nanoleaf. I can use automations to pair it with my Nanoleaf ceiling light. And I replaced that so I could try out the Nanoleaf Sense Plus, which it does work really well with other Nanoleaf devices. And then I eventually replaced the Nanoleaf Sense Plus with the Aqara 4-button switch. And that's the one I'm using now. Really like it in terms of that. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but it kind of just depends on what you're looking for. The Invelli switches support Matter. The White series supports Matter over Thread. And yeah, good option if you're looking for a thread-based thread-based switch. But I really like the Aqara switches, just for some of the newer ones, so they can support Thread or Zigbee. I have mine connected over Zigbee and just had those other buttons that I can use to kind of connect different lights and stuff. I have different scenes and setup, so like one button toggles on and off my ceiling light. The other button, let's see, I've got one button that shuts everything off in the studio. What do the other buttons do? Oh, one button will toggle on and off just all the accent lights in here. So I have it kind of set up to do different things like that. And I like having those multiple buttons there. To me, that's just easier than trying to remember like single press, double press, long press, and all that kind of stuff. Question, Bruce says, how do you remove non-responsive devices when you no longer have them? You should still be able to just go into the app, just find your accessory. It'll say no response, but it should allow you to still remove the device in the Apple Home app. And Curious Sam is asking if anybody can recommend some budget Thread devices or sensors to strengthen my Thread network apart from Eve and Nanoleaf stuff. There's not many options out there for Thread accessories. And one thing to note, you mentioned devices or sensors. So sensors most of the time are not going to strengthen your Thread network because those are sleepy in devices. Basically, any Thread accessory that runs on battery is usually going to be just a sleepy in device. That means it's not going to extend your Thread network. So if you're looking to extend your Thread network, you're going to need a Thread device that has constant power, something like a light switch that's connected usually to a neutral. I think you have to have neutral wires, or some kind of smart lights. Or what else could there be? Things like that, or smart plugs, they're always receiving power. Smart plugs are probably a good option to extend your Thread network. William said, sorry, catching up on the chat here. I have smart wings. Yeah, that's what I have on my back porch is the smart wings. Aqara light bulbs. Yeah, Aqara light bulbs, if you're using them over Thread, because again, with those, you can do Thread or Zigbee, they should extend your Thread network. I think that's correct, yeah. That's a good one. If you don't want Eve, Onvis Thread Smart Plug, pretty affordable compared to Eve, and they have the Matter over Thread versions. Yeah, good suggestion there. Thank you, Edgar. Don says, I have one Invelli white switch series installed that controls a hall light. Works well, but I prefer Lutron Caseta. It is still installed as I use the LED indicate of the garage to indicate if the garage is open. Yeah, that's one of the cool things about those Invelli switches is the little LED lights on them. I found like the Invelli switches are super cool. I think they're really good for somebody who's, I don't know if I want to say advanced, but there's just so much capability in them. Here's going to show that little LED light, I think, right there. So they're pretty cool, but they just take a lot of configuration, especially if you want to use automations and stuff like that for the LED lights. And they do also offer the red series is Z-Wave, and they have a blue series, which is their Zigbee switches. White series is matter over thread. So you do have the options there. But yeah, really highly configurable smart switches, which I do like, but they are a little complex, I feel like, to set up. Let me see if I can get back to some of these other questions. All right, answered that one. Question, Robin says, I have my vacuum cleaner connected to Homey Pro, but it's not exposed to HomeKit. Any suggestions on how to resolve this? The vacuum is not Matter compatible. So with Homey Pro, there's only certain device types that you can connect, that you can kind of bridge over to HomeKit. And I don't know this off the top of my head 100%, but I'm pretty certain that vacuum cleaners are not one of those device categories. So I actually use, in Homey Pro, I actually use the HomeKitty app, I guess it's called. It's the HomeKitty app, and that will allow you to expose devices over to Apple Home from Homey Pro. And it supports more device types than the native HomeKit experiment, they call it in Homey. But there's still a limitation. So let me see if I can find HomeKitty and maybe we can see what device types are supported. Oh, it's not there. Sorry, I'm not seeing a list of the device types, but yeah, I don't think vacuum cleaners are supported. So you might not be able to do it with Homey Pro. You might not be able to get vacuum cleaners in there. And again, that's what I was kind of saying earlier, like you can probably get the device into Homey a lot of times. Sometimes there may not be support there for that either. And that's where Home Assistant, to me, I've been able to supplement kind of anything that's lacking there as far as device compatibility and Home Assistant. I can pretty much get just about anything into Home Assistant and bridge that over to, sometimes I'll even bridge devices from Home Assistant over to Homey. A lot of home words we're using today. Home Assistant over to Homey when there's a device that Homey doesn't support. They have a really good HomeKit, or Home Assistant integration as well. Oh, nice. Okay, so dishwasher and oven in HomeKit via Homey. Yeah, I think I did bring in my oven through Homey. Let's get back to the devices here. So that was my back porch. Bedroom, I just did a video. We have a lot of new lights. So I've got Lutron shades in there, Lutron ceiling fan controller, a lot of lights in there that I really like. Check out the new video if you want to see how we kind of made over our bedroom with smart lighting, all Govee stuff. I've got the little Thorbolt lock on that bedroom door, which is kind of nice to have at times. And then I got a couple little flick buttons that we use beside the bed. And a couple of scenes up here, set the mood. We got a wake up scene, a bright white, which just sets everything to like a nice functional lighting. And then all lights out, of course. Dining room, we've got some shades in there. I've got a new video coming on that pretty soon. Garage, we've got my Yardian Pro. Lock Ultra. Again, my Tailwind garage door is disconnected right now because we're doing the work in the garage. Yeah, so let's see. I don't guess I need to go room by room. Let's see if there's anything up here that might be of interest. Security, climate. I've got way too many sensors in the house, I've noticed. But a lot of accessories to control the climate here, which if I was not recording right now, I would definitely have my desk tower fan on, which is this guy right here, because it gets hot in this room, especially with these camera lights on, but that wouldn't be good for the video. So, and my SwitchBot air purifier, excuse me, is I disconnected that because we're moving some things around. But yeah, lots of climate accessories, I guess. Mainly shades. Got a lot of smart shades. Got some new ones I just set up. I really love smart shades. Trent says, I need more water sensors. Yeah, water sensors are great to have. Yeah, I can't believe they just now got groups in Homey. I mean, it's a welcome addition. Kind of crazy that it just now happened, but glad to see that was added recently. All right, if you have any questions about my setup or anything else we're talking about, drop, like I said, preface your comment with the word question, and I'll get to those. I did see, we talked about robot vacuums. Let me show you the robot vacuums that I have in my home. So I have, let's see, where are they located right now? Too many devices. So we've got this one right here, which is the Ecovacs D-Bot X8 Omni. I think I said that right. They've got some crazy names. I don't know how we're supposed to remember that stuff. So yeah, that one, the main floor right there, that's the Ecovacs robot vacuum that supports Matter, and you can see you can vacuum and mop, and you can also choose the rooms that you want to do right there in Apple Home. And then let's see, oh, it's up here actually. In the loft, I've got the K10 Plus Pro combo. I never mop with this, I only vacuum. And this one does not have, I don't think has the rooms. So, but you do have some other options right here, which is nice. So you do quick, quiet, deep clean, or automatic. And yeah, I don't use that one a whole lot, but this is for kind of my upstairs area. Those are the robot vacuums that I currently have in Apple Home. Well, that's a good question. Matt says, what devices in your home aren't native Home or Matter? Let's see. Let's go and look. You know, thanks to Matter, I really haven't had many issues getting devices that are not native Home because we have a lot more options now with Matter. What am I using that's not natively in Apple Home or Matter? I tell you what I can do. I can go look at my bridges and see. Hubs and bridges. And let's see. So ironically, okay, so one of them is that little, there's a light right back there on the tree. That doesn't support HomeKit natively. That's just an old Toya smart light. It's a floodlight, and I got that into HomeKit through Home Assistant. So that's one. And then ironically, the other devices that I'm using in through like Home Assistant or Homey, most of which actually support HomeKit or Matter, but I just like those integrations better, if that makes sense. So like Govee is a good example. I use a lot of Govee devices, but I've started switching a lot of them over to either the Home Assistant or the Homey integration. I've been using the Homey integration lately because they have a Govee LAN integration, which just works way more reliably, I feel like, than the Matter integration sometimes. So I've been using that. So I'll do that sometimes. Same thing with like these little Yeelight lights. So those are Yeelight. I've got some other ones over here on my desk, and they just work better through Home Assistant than they do the Matter integration. So sometimes I'll do that instead of using the Matter integration. So I'll test a lot of times, like, I'll start with the Matter integration, and then if I'm having issues or something like that, or maybe it's just not that reliable, I will see if there's a different type of integration. And like I said, those LAN integrations just work really reliably. So same thing with that. Do you use Eve Energy in Homey? It's popular in Europe because of hourly energy prices. Yeah, I do have Eve Energy in Homey, I think, but I haven't been using any of the energy Like, I only use a few smart plugs. I use them for my camera lights here, maybe one or two other places. I use a lot of them during like the holidays, but outside of the holidays, I really just have a couple of smart plugs here in the house. Question: can you run Govee light scenes with Homey? So I think you can. I might need to check. I think you can, depending on which type of integration you're using. So with Homey, you can do the LAN integration, which doesn't give you the scenes or stuff. I like the LAN integration because it's just the most reliable. Or you can use the cloud integration, which does rely on like the cloud connection and Wi-Fi and stuff like that. So you can go that route, and I think that does give you the ability to change the scenes and stuff like that. Actually, yeah, it does. I know for a fact. I remember because I had a bunch of automations set up to change the scenes of some of my Govee lights, but that's only with the cloud integration. You can't do it with I think it's called the LAN light integration. So here, I always hit the wrong button. Here you can see this is the Govee integration for Homey, and here's the devices that you can bring into it. Matter devices, of course, you can add Matter stuff. You can bring lights. So like all of these will use basically a cloud integration, but the local API devices, that's the LAN, and I really like using this just because it's really reliable, but I don't think you can change the scenes with that. Bill says, I'm looking at incorporating string lights into my backyard landscaping. What are your recommended brands? So for string lights, there's a few options. My favorite looking ones are probably the Nanoleaf ones, and they've worked really well for me. Ironically, I just found out, I think this week or yesterday maybe, that my Nanoleaf string lights aren't working. And I think there's some corrosion around the plug, which might kind of be my fault. I probably should have like covered that up better or something where it plugs into an extension cord. So I think the corrosion there might be the issue. I haven't investigated it yet to see, but I like the way those look the best, I think, from all the smart lights, or the smart string lights. I'll show you real quick what they look like. They just, to me, look the best like during the daytime. They look the most like traditional string lights. They're very heavy duty. They look like glass. These are actually a really, really thick, hard plastic, but they look like glass. and I just think they look the best. That said, Govee does have a lot of them too. And they just released some new ones. Let's see if we can find them. Outdoor lights, maybe. All the pop-ups. They might not even have them on their website yet. So like I used these for a little bit. I really don't like the way these look, honestly. I love the Govee stuff because they have so many options for lights, but they don't have, I just didn't like the way their string lights look that much. But they have some new ones. See, like those, they just look kind of cheap, I think. Let me see if I can find. They have some new clear ones that look a lot cooler. Here they are. These are the new clear ones. And they're still plasticky, you know. I still don't think they look quite as good as the Nanoleaf ones. But, you know, if maybe you're into Govee or you want to get some Govee stuff, I think these do look a lot cooler. I just installed these some at my friend's house where I was talking about I got dehydrated yesterday out there installing a bunch of lights. I did install these. And kind of similarly, I don't think they look as good as the Nanoleaf ones during the daytime. But they do have a really cool kind of nighttime look. And when you, especially if you're doing a lot of lighting scenes and stuff like that, these might look kind of cool. But yeah, those would probably be the two that I would look into. And both of those do support Matter over Wi-Fi for either one of those. So those would probably be the two that I would look at. Curious Sam says, not being able to export scenes from Govee app is the biggest miss from the product that is really dominating the smart light space. Nanoleaf and Aqara do it, but do not have as many lighting products. Yeah, Aqara found a really cool, clever way to accomplish this. I don't think the Nanoleaf Matter products do that. The lines like these and the shapes and stuff do. I don't think their Matter products do though. Like the string lights we were just talking about. I don't think you can get those scenes into HomeKit. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure you can't. And it's something that like Matter still doesn't support lighting effects and things like that. So I'm really hoping that Matter will update one day to allow that. And if that happens, then maybe we'll see Govee and others integrate it more easily. How to get a fireplace IR control into HomeKit, Andy asked. Sorry, I'm trying to go through and check out all the questions that I may have missed. I know I got some more saved. Okay, I just saved a bunch of questions, so I'm going to get to those. So there's a few ways to get IR devices into HomeKit. You just need an IR blaster basically that supports Matter. So a couple options would be the SwitchBot hubs. I was talking about the SwitchBot Hub 3 recently. That's what I'm probably going to use to get like an IR AC conditioner into Apple Home. Excuse me. Here is the SwitchBot Hub 3. So this is an IR blaster built in. They've got other ones, other hubs that you could use. Let's see. There we go, hubs. So you could also use the Hub 2, which is probably a little cheaper, and the Hub Mini. The Hub 3 is a really good device, especially if you can use that little dial and stuff. Also, Aqara has a few hubs that support IR blasters. The Aqara M3 hub and the Aqara M2 hub both have IR blasters in them, and you can use that you can expose those to HomeKit through that. And I think there's one or two others, but those are the two off the top of my head. SwitchBot and Aqara, they're hubs, with the IR blasters built in. Should allow you to do that. You just have to have line of sight from your hub to whatever you're trying to control, your fireplace in this case. So I hope that kind of helps. We got some more questions here. Gosh, it's already 5 o'clock. Wow, this one flew by. Last question here. Maybe might be able to get a couple more in. Edgar earlier said, how was the birthday surprise from the gang? It was so much fun. Like I said, I know some of that was on Instagram. Yeah, just a blast. So cool to see some of those guys. Eric from Modern Day Tech and George from Nebraska showed up. Also YouTube channel, and they both flew in, had some other friends there also from South Carolina, and yeah, what a great time just to be able to catch up with good friends and hang out. It was a total surprise, so they definitely got me good, but we had a great time. Thanks for asking. Yeah, wow, that hour flew by. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope maybe you got something out of it. If you are a channel member and I didn't get to your question, definitely check out our Discord server where I will answer more questions. You can reach out to me directly, or you could post questions for the rest of the group. A lot of good, knowledgeable people there. And otherwise, hit me up on Instagram if you want. I am probably most active on Instagram outside of YouTube, so I'll be over there. Hopefully we have some garage updates to share very soon over there as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and hanging out live. I hope to see you next week. Have a great day and a great rest of your week. All right, God bless.